Welcome, everybody. It's Brian Kenny. It's MLB Now. We are pleased to be joined by Peter Gammons, who started covering Major League Baseball spring training 1972, which was, if you know that year, a baseball strike. So we'll kind of go that route. Peter, it's good to talk to you again. How are you?
Thank you, Brian. It's great to be doing this.
Great to be talking baseball. Hopefully we'll be seeing baseball. Given your experience in seeing lots of strikes, lockouts, work stoppages, etc., what's your take on where we are right now in this negotiation?
I think we're in a very critical position. I think when Rob Manfred came out yesterday and said, well, he wasn't so sure that we're going to come back, it immediately followed a meeting with the owners. And I think there's a great deal of pressure. There's a great deal of pressure on both sides. The problem is the pressure is coming the pressure from one side is coming in Sanskrit and the other side is coming in Basque. And it's really been a very nasty thing. The Players Association representation has not been through a lot of these strikes. I mean, like Rob Manfred was in about his third year in 94, 95, and Don Fehr and Gene Orza, I thought, handled that winter absolutely brilliantly. But they had a ton of experience. So I think that right now they're off on different tracks. I do think, though, that they both now starting to realize, you know what, if we just say to heck with the rest of the season, I mean, what's going to be, they're certainly going to lose even more revenue. I mean, if it's right now, they say, all right, it's $20 million a team they might lose. That's a hard blow if you're the Cleveland Indians or the Tampa Bay Rays. But at the same time, they can overcome that. Owners say, well, they're going to lose. Well, they can re-up it. They've been upping their profit. It's at times here. It's almost like we've been arguing about what the players are going to make this year and next year, and how much the owners can resell their teams for. And they're really contrary issues. And it's made for a very heated exchange down to the end. Obviously, the language has been bad. I do think somewhere here at the last second, there will be a compromise. And they're not going to have to go to Sonia Sotomayor to get that solved.
Peter, what are your thoughts, just quickly, on how deep can they go? Like we've talked before. I mean, there've been things thrown out before about the season extending. A different postseason has been proposed. How deep into the year, or what are the limitations of that? Or can it go deeper into the year, given concerns for a second wave? We don't know if there is going to be one or not. New territory. But what are the limitations for, hey, let's just keep pushing into November and then deeper into November?
I think they're going to have a hard time getting past the first week, 10 days of November. The second wave seems so real, and I think it would be really damaging to be rolling into the season and heading in. Well, let's say they're in the, I call them the quarterfinals, because this is like an Oktoberfest tournament that they're going to be in the postseason. And all of a sudden, for the country to have to lock down before they get through the World Series, I think would be even more damaging to the game. So I think, but I keep thinking, all right, I know how miserable this is for all of us, not having any baseball. I want to see Mike Trout and other players run down to first base. I mean, I want to see guys play. And I mean, there are things that can be really fun in a 50 or 60 game. It's just going to be something completely different. We go back to normal next year, and hopefully, as the basic agreement wraps up at the end of next year, we're not going to have another shutdown in 22. But I mean, I think it could be a lot of fun. I think there are some teams like, I mean, my favorite example is San Diego. They have so many veteran and young power arms that we can have like the ultimate, season where teams can have 16, 17 pitchers that nobody has to pitch more than 3 or 4 innings. You only get one time around the order against a guy, some young guy with a great arm. And it'll be different, but it'll be fun. And I think it will give a lot of teams like San Diego, maybe Miami, because they've got a ton of young pitchers. I mean, it might give them a chance, and maybe it ends up helping their franchises.
Good points there, because, right, there could be a lot of surprises in a sprint. A sprint would be fun. As long as they're playing, then the only bad answer is not playing. I'm with you on that. What your thoughts on the draft? You're a great column, I thought, leading up to the draft, even though it was just a 5-round draft, Peter, but talking about the inexact science of it to this day, and now this year even more so with basically no spring season. Give me your takeaway on the draft.
I mean, one good thing was this was a very talented draft, even though most of them didn't play more than 3 weeks or a month into the season. It still was really good. I've seen a lot of them on the Cape, and there's some really good players. I think there's a lot of depth, and I mean, I really liked, for instance, one of my first takes was, for all the rebuilding they're doing in Miami, they've had 2 really, really good drafts in a row to kind of keep building. Problem is, of course, and I think everyone we talk about, liking or not liking, the problem is where they're going to play and how they're going to develop. I mean, it's the whole combination of not having minor leagues and maybe having a second wave that will challenge the Arizona Fall League and all the rest makes it very, very difficult. But I think Miami has done very well. One guy I saw a lot of last year, Nick Gonzalez, the second baseman, shortstop, outfielder from New Mexico that the Pirates took. I mean, he is a wonderful player. He can really hit. I mean, it kind of reminds me of a Madlock type of hitter, not just because it's the Pirates, but he's an absolutely tremendously gifted, intelligent player. Great base runner. I mean, the Pirates, they made that deal with Arizona, got 2 very high ceiling young guys. They start to build. Again, though, where do they play? But I do, for all the work that was done, and I think it's very difficult for some teams to follow. I mean, there were guys that were like rated 110 or 130 that some teams had, rated as the top high school players in the country. It's just that people didn't get to see them. People who didn't have a lot of scouts. I think this draft showed teams like the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Cubs. One of the big advantages going forward is for the big market teams to be able to afford a lot of scouts so they can blend together all the analytics and the scouting and get to know the players and have a real feel. And I think this draft really showed it. I think it's going to be difficult for small markets who say, well, we're not going to have a lot of scouts. I think it's going to be hard for them to compete. And I do think that it's taught the big markets, stop complaining about where you are in the draft. You could do really well because you could afford to have scouts in the professional ranks down in rookie ball and out looking at Division III players that may have great arms that nobody knows about.
Peter, before I let you go, I know this is a day where it feels like, for me, it feels bleak for the first time that, wait a second, what's happening? Because we're just waiting for baseball. What's your level of optimism or pessimism, just in your gut, what you feel right now today?
Well, I'm in my second stage today. When I went out walking earlier, I just listened to like two songs for like 2 hours. One was Pearl Jam, "Slumming My Way Back to Heaven," but there's no wrong or right, but there is good and bad. And I thought, it's over. But a couple of people said to me that they're not going to commit suicide. And I do think, I had a general manager call me last night and just say, Peter, they're burning down our game. And that may have fueled a little bit of my pessimism, but I'm back up to thinking, you know what? If the rest of us who love the game and love the full season so much could say, we can find a way to really have fun with 50 or 60 games, I think everybody can. And there's a carryover to next season, which is really necessary.
All right. I'll take that. I wanted to hear something good there, Peter. Peter, always a pleasure talking with you. I'll see you again. I'll see you again in person, hopefully, in the coming weeks. Take care.